we're live. Hello everyone, good evening, good morning, good something, wherever you are in the world. After all these recent crazy news we got today. My name is Bal from SplitSecond, of course, or what else, and we have with us Josh from SplitSecond as well. And we are here today to talk a little bit about this ban announcement that we got, and hopefully got some ideas, some feedback from you. I mean, we're not here to change anything, do anything, but hopefully think about what's going to happen to cEDH.
Yeah, we're going to approach maybe what is going to change, what we think will change, and what could change. We're going to look for some of the good, some of the bad. At least I've spent the better part of today just kind of talking to different brewers and builders, and we're trying to build a big picture of what this meta shift could look like. So I do promise it will be different. I just hope it's for the better, and I think we'll have some good arguments either way. Really quickly, I'm just gonna let them know that we're live in our Discord. By the way, if you are not on the SplitSecond Discord, we would love to have you there. You can find it in our About channel. It is not locked to anybody. If you just want to come chat with us about cEDH, we'd love to have you. Let's see. Okay, so let's get started really quickly by just reviewing what happened today. Because in my world, I pulled an all-nighter because my internet wasn't working, and I really need my internet to work for work and other things. We were supposed to be recording our pre-release, and somebody said the music is a touch too loud, so you might want to...
I tuned it a little bit lower. I hope it's better.
And then I went and took a nap because we canceled we didn't cancel the pre-release. I set my alarm for like an hour. I was just gonna take a small nap and then wake up and go print out the remaining proxies I had and then try to get the internet working. But the internet wasn't working again, and I woke up to a ban announcement instead. I woke up to, I don't know, like 50 or so pings across all of Discord of people messaging me saying, what are you going to do with your decks? Everything is broken. What's going on? So yeah, it's been wild. And we decided that we're going to do this instead to talk about what we think is going to happen. So really quick, Bal, can you pull up the announcement, and we'll just kind of...
Yep.
We'll show it.
It's in the middle of the screen.
Perfect. Go ahead. Let's read through it one more time because I didn't read through it enough.
Yeah. So it's it's everyone knows which cards were banned by now. We have some philosophy behind the cards banned. I guess we could go a little bit through one of each at a time. What do you think? Or
we could. I guess that's just good to prioritize. We're not going to really delve into the casual reasoning as to why certain things were banned. They weren't they weren't something that happened to us or because of us. So I guess the philosophies themselves aren't super important. It says Mana Crypt was just too much mana coming down too early. Jeweled Lotus was the same thing, too much mana coming down too early. Dockside, too much mana coming down too early. And then Nadu, because Wizards decided not to playtest this card. It is what it is. All right, so let's start with... Would you like to start with the bad, or would you like to start with the good? Or you just want to start with the top 10 lists and maybe how they'll be impacted?
Yeah, I think I would go from there.
Somebody once again said the music is too loud. If you want to pull that down a bit.
Just a second.
Yeah, Jeff Wren says this kills so many decks, it might. I think there's some math that it might help some decks too. in a good way, like decks that we actually want to see help. Nobody wants to see Blue Farm helped, and nobody wants to see Roger Silas helped. So we'll see if we can't pick apart some possibilities. Let's kind of start with addressing the top 10. Let's just talk about like the immediate meta and what's gonna like immediate change. Let's see. Also, it could be that Tom is behind, but we'll figure that out. Okay. So EDH top 16 currently for me is down, and I know what you're thinking. Just go to MTG top 8, but they're also down. And oh no, it finally loaded in. Okay, we're good. Never mind. All right, so let's start with Blue Farm. Start with Blue Farm, and let's start talking about, I guess, mid-range hell that people have been complaining about, which is everybody has a Ristic Study, everybody has a million cards in hand, and the game can't end. Obviously, Blue Farm is losing 3 cards, I guess, out of this. They're losing Mana Crypt, they're losing Dockside. They really needed those cards. Dockside was a big part of Blue Farm's sequencing for big explosive turns. You know, Pop a Silence, Dockside, Mana, Cast Breach, you know, proceed to win the game. I think Dockside is a huge loss for this. I think losing Mana Crypt is an obvious one we don't really have to talk about. My big thing, and I've already been preaching this everywhere, is I am incredibly happy to see the turn 1 sequencing for Ristic Study gone. Anything that is land, crypt, Ristic Study is now no longer a possibility, and I have hated that. It is that exact sequencing that gave huge advantage to the person sitting in first seat. The fact that Mana Crypt could come down for player 1, and they could land a bunch of stuff. It enabled turn 1 Mana Crypts. Turn 1 Mana Crypts were obvious. Turn 1 Ad Nauseams were possible. Turn 1 Ristic Studies were possible. You could even do Mystic Remora and then Mana Crypt into like a Talisman and be totally set for the rest of the game. Like that Mystic Remora is not going anywhere because of just, you know, the advantage you're able to get right away. So I personally think Blue Farm takes a really big hit from this. And I kind of like it.
I agree. But go on.
Yeah, I really hate that. I hate Ristic Study being able to come out on turn 1. Like, if I'm 3rd or 4th, and somebody does Land Crypt Ristic Study, my game is infinitely worse. Someone's going to feed it, right? Like, I don't have the energy to tell people, please stop feeding player 1's Ristic Study. You are contributing to the mathematical problem. That is turn 1 winning the game, and player C1 winning the game. But any other thoughts about Blue Farm? I think, you know, overall, we just say this is a net negative for them, period. Like, they lose quite a bit.
Yesterday I had a player saying that Dockside was just a value card for Blue Farm, while they, like, in the sense that they are not looping it to create infinite mana like Bruce Drazius, Cizay, Kenrith, these kind of decks. So considering that they will win always in a way that doesn't revolve Dockside, I think they don't lose that much because they're always going to win with Breach or Thoracle. So this means I think they lost a big ritual in their pool of cards. I think Jeweled Lotus and Crypt are big hitters to that turn 1 Chrome into turn 2 Timna attack, and the turn 1 Chrome, while not being a Ristic Study, easily draws some cards like I turn 1 Petal, Esper Sentinel go, I draw a card. So the early Chromes will be harder to cast just after the Dark Rituals, I suppose. But other than that, I think they will be still good. Actually, I think they will not lose that much because they have 2 commanders that draw them cards, and they don't require an infinite mana combo in their list. So I think something like Cizay or other infinite mana commanders will really lose a lot more. Do you have a Cizay there?
Talk. Mm-hmm? Yeah, we'll talk about Cizay. It's actually coming up in the 3rd one on the list. And I guess, you know, another elephant in the room is just ad nauseum. Like, main phase ad nauseum just got a whole lot worse. If you think about the post ad nauseum sequencing and the hits that you needed to make, Mana Crypt was huge because it would be like Mana Crypt and Simian Spirit Guide into Dockside Extortionist, and that was a big thing. Like, to go positive, Dockside only needed 3 treasures, and that was a huge part of ad nauseum sequencing, right? Was I need Mana Crypt and I need Dockside Extortionist. Congrats, they're both gone. I think we will see a pretty...
I'm losing you.
steep nauseum. Let me know when I'm back.
Yeah.
I can still hear you. Okay. I think we're going to see a pretty steep drop-off of the like main phase crack ranger captain cast ad nauseum, tap out, hit fast mana, win game. I think that sequencing is going to die off. And we're going to have to see a lot more end phase, you know, end step ad nauseums. So that's just what I think will happen there. Moving on to the next commander. Next up is Roger Silas. What are we... I think Roger Silas suffers from the same things, right? Like, they weren't even playing Jeweled Lotus, so they don't get hit by that, and they just get hit by anything related to ad nauseum. Right.
Yeah. I think they actually gain a little bit in the sense that they are the kind of deck that easily will dump a bunch of rocks into play. They would Rogue Silas turn 1 into Springleaf Drum, maybe Mox Ember, tap one of them to add a Sol Ring to the mix to have like 6 or 7 mana on turn 2 for Nadna's main phase or wherever. And then these kind of starts would easily be kind of punished by an opposing Dockside into a progressive or open mana to fight a turn 2 Naz. So I suppose they actually gain a little bit off of that, and other than that, most of their mana, they can still gain a lot of mana with a 0 mana commander in the command zone to be sacrificial fodder for all of the rituals they have. So I think they are also still okay in that sense. I don't think they lose a ritual, but they are the decks of rituals, and they can actually take more advantage of most of the sacrificial rituals than any other deck. So I think they might be gaining here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're just going to replace this with 2 rituals, right? Like, it's one of those funny things where, like, hey guys, congrats, now you have open slots. Stop complaining. You know? All those talks of like, oh, there's too many good cards, I can't fit them in. Now you can. So that's Roger Silas. Yeah, I think both of them will end up they're falling into commander agnostic, lists where they don't really care about what's getting played. Now next up is Sisay. Sisay was huge. If you're unfamiliar with Sisay and Sisay tutor chains, Sisay's big thing was Dockside. Creating 5 treasures, or at least enough treasures in order to activate Sisay, would allow you to go and fetch a Planeswalker or some kind of legendary creature that would make another copy of Dockside, which would then let you go up into the chain again, make another copy of Dockside until you eventually collect MEL and then play everything from your library and win the game. Dockside was huge for Sisay. Now, this has already been talked about in the past. Dockside's been on the watch list for a really long time. And so there were already musings of, hey, if Dockside's gonna get banned, what is gonna replace it? And the big thing is just it's gonna be Bloom Tender, right? They were already playing Bloom Tender. They were already playing the other one, the 3-drop, whose name is escaping me.
Folk.
Yeah, the Tree Folk, and the lines are basically the same. As long as Bloom Tender and the Tree Folk are tapping for 5 mana, you activate Sisay, you go and make another copy of them that's hasty, activate them again, go make another copy of them.
I think I lost you.
Infinite mana, go off. It's worse. It's worse. Like, it's...
I think your internet
because of
is
Dockside.
chipping a bit.
Yeah, well...
I lost you when it's worse. Can you repeat? Yeah, I think I hear you something. Yeah.
Okay.
And I lost you.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you're streaming and not me, because it's Xfinity. If you hate yourself, buy Xfinity.
Uh, well, I'll take it
Okay.
a moment.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think at the same time, cEDH can still. I think cEDH and being playing Bruce Radius for some time. I think these decks, if the pilots want to keep playing them, I will want to keep playing Bruce Radius, so I will try. I think the Revi lines with Emil could be an alternative. Of course, not the same, but I think there could be a world where cEDH decks still keep showing up with slightly different lines. And but I definitely I think this is a deck that he's hurt a lot. Also, turn 1 Jewel Lotus into cEDH, stuff like that really fast could also hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it's at the same time. Am I complaining? Am I happy to see cEDH pulled back? Am I happy to see? We're not going to talk about Kenrith today, but am I happy to see Kenrith pulled back? Heck yeah. Hate those decks.
Come on.
I know you have a great Kenrith list. It's just like the 5C good stuff list that was like, oh, if I don't have Dockside, I lose the game. Let's be honest, let's be happy. Like
that's the thing.
Let's
I think
pull back the power level.
Kenrith kind of completely dies because it really needs the colored mana. Well, also does cEDH, but I think Thrasius lists can more easily survive this ban on Dockside than Kenrith can, for sure. And cEDH, I think it's a really, I think it's a tough, a strong list for, and you good pilots can, I think, could still pull a lot of wins through the opponents not seeing the line.
I think it's not possible to just pivot to Bloom Tender and the Tree Folk and Selvala and stuff.
Yeah, all those cards are still there, but you mean in Kenrith? Or
yeah, in Kenrith. Yep.
Probably, but I don't know. Yeah, probably.
And I saw you put it up on the screen earlier, but Dervy, MEL, Gaia's Cradle, filter into all your other colors.
Yeah,
oh, it's just, it gets so much jankier. Everything is just like the amount of cards that you need, the mana cost has all just, it's all just gone.
That's the thing. In cEDH, I think it can prevail the least because cEDH will tutor the legendary creatures for the combo. The Derevi, the Gaia's Cradle, the Emil, they are all easily tutored by Emil. While Kenrith really needed and would want to loop Dockside from the graveyard, not only through Emil but from the graveyard through Phantasmal Image and stuff like that. So
really quickly, Marco asked a great question that I want to pull up. Marco said, "Do you guys think the ban
will boost the Emir control strategies and stacks?"
And the answer is yes. I do think controls have gotten a big buff because the format has technically slowed down, even if it is a margin.
You're cutting a little bit.
We'll cut down into two parts. The first thing has to do with Dockside mana numbers. So let's think about like a control player's job. A control player is supposed to identify actions that their opponent is going to take, identify windows, and control those actions. You're trying to stop them, right? They're about to present a win condition. You're supposed to be able to recognize that board state. Hey, they tutored for something. Hey, they have this amount of mana. They've held up this amount of mana. They passed their turn with 5 mana open, 2 black and 3 colors. Like you know what they're doing and you adapt to it. Dockside made that incredibly difficult to do because somebody could just have 2 mana open, and then the amount of mana that Dockside could produce to enable the rest of their turn was impossible to predict. Right? Now, if I look at somebody untapping with 2 mana, you can guess a land drop, you can guess a Lotus Petal, you can guess that maybe they were sandbagging a Soul Ring to go +1, which means your estimation of mana that they'll possibly have on this turn for winning the game is, somewhere around 3 to 5. If it was Dockside, and the dockside count was 7 or 8 or even more, that was such an incredibly difficult thing to try to analyze. So I do think that control strategies across the board, not just related to Dimir Plus, get a boost in that scenario is now so much easier to read. Like, if somebody untaps with 2 lands, you are not about to see, like, land, dork, neoform, dockside for 10, games over. Haha, you didn't read the board correctly. Like, that explosive play is now no longer a thing. And I think for control players and people who like to play control, who value their game sense, I think that'll be really big for them. Do you have any opinion, one way or the other, on that?
Definitely. I think that's a clear read of what can happen. Definitely, I think even even 4 mana would be easily a finale for Dockside, and going from there. I think we might go down on clone effects as blue decks usually. I think we might go back to more Gilded Drakes being played. On the other hand, I think green decks without Dockside can go back to more of Carpet of Flowers as a replacement, which hasn't been seen in a while. So blue control decks should... am I wrong? I haven't seen Carpet.
No. I think it's maybe. Yeah, no, it's possible, right? Like, people still need to make mana. Sure.
So as blue decks, they can just consider the islands they have in play, and the staxy meta might resurge because now you can just play more random stax effects as artifacts, which they are often artifacts like Craft Digger's Cage, Torpor Orb effects, etc. Even if some of them wouldn't sometimes. Like a Graph Digger's Cage is great against breach or reanimation strategies, but if it's just staying there and the person is going to Dockside for 7 and still win through an Emil loop or whatever, the Graph Digger was just adding to the number. So now more enchantments and artifacts could see play as stax pieces. So hopefully, I really hope that. I'll bring this just right now, that people don't want to hate or ban other cards, but do consider the time of rounds for tournaments, because if there was already the will to ban Ristic because tournaments were drawing too much, now the meta will definitely slow. I think stacks could be now more prevalent, stronger, and try 80-minute rounds, I think, hopefully. So control.
I'm up for trying 80-minute rounds. Yeah, I'm all for that. I love the idea of 80-minute rounds. You know, I'm even up for 90-minute rounds again if it means that more games have a definitive winner. I'm totally up for that. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. Now, you mentioned something, stacks, right? And like delaying games. All right, can you pull up a picture of Blood Moon, please? Because let's talk about Blood Moon. All right, so for those who are maybe newer to cEDH or maybe just haven't been able to envision the longer meta, when people are playing 4-color decks, people are playing 5-color decks, we are all on non-basic lands, duels, fetches, everything you could imagine. You would think that Blood Moon would be an effective stacks piece against that kind of meta. Wrong. Dockside broke that. Dockside said, oh, all of my lands are mountains? That's great. I now have a 2-mana fixer for your Blood Moon. And both Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon faded out of the meta because of Dockside. Now that Dockside is gone, am I too bold to say that Blood Moon is back because there is no 2-mana mana fixing, and you can actually drop a Blood Moon and it actually just screws over Blue Farm, it screws over Sisay, it screws over Roger Silas. They can't do it anymore. They don't have Mana Crypt either to then fix into a talisman. They have to wait. Yeah. Any thoughts? I'm pretty sure that both of them can see play again.
Yeah,
And you're not
definitely.
even feeding dockside, you know? Now you don't have to worry about dropping a stax piece and then having someone go, oh, dockside for 14?
Yeah,
GG. So
yeah.
go ahead. Like, any,
I think definitely in the past when I would see players still play Blood Moon a little bit more into the into getting into cEDH, I would always say like when you're casting a Blood Moon, you're giving the win to the first player casting Dockside. So don't play Blood Moon unless you can prevent the Dockside from getting in or win faster. But yeah, Blood Moon and would be traps for these newer players that would want to hate on the non-basic clans. But now maybe Timna Tana might resurge or something like that. Those I don't know, but I think the big police now will be Bowmaster definitely. Although people were already shifting away from dorks to rocks. I did a little bit in the Bruce Razius Dawnwaker list. So now dorks, it's not like dorks now are great because they are fixing you and ramping you. You still need the rocks. At the same time, the rocks are not feeding dockside anymore, so I guess it's Blood Moon will be a good card, but there will still be some fixing around it, I think. But just like old times, I think.
So, Bal, there's a question for you that came up in chat. Atheon is interested in hearing your opinion on this. Atheon says, one problem I have with the bans is that Jeweled Lotus and Crypt were almost only played in cEDH, and the committee said that they don't look at data from cEDH for bans, but they feel like cEDH bans. Do you have any opinion on this? Basically, do you think that this was actually cEDH motivated and not casual motivated?
Well, I think I have this opinion always had that it's Commander in general has a gradient of power levels. While people want to say my deck is 7 or is 8 or is 9, it's not black and white in my opinion. It's really a grayish gradient all the way to cEDH that can be seen by different people differently, I believe. While there is like you go online and you find a deck on number 9 is like these and power 7 or 8 is like these, etc. You have those guidelines, but I think they can easily be misunderstood, and in the end, if it makes no sense, because if there's the rule 0, if there is these, the committee should just try to enforce more, I would say, this thing about the rule 0. They were all forward for the rule 0. Yeah, you just rule 0, you get into the table, you talk, you see what's the power level of each decks. But then they are banning these cards. So they are banning these cards which are played in the top echelon of the format, I think so. Or the people who have more money, or they had the cards for longer, so they are playing it, and maybe they don't think they still think that their deck is a 7, but maybe it's an 8 or it's a 9, and all this is creating attrition in the format and in the players. So in my opinion, it makes totally no sense that they are banning powerful cards. Not to mention that if this happens, if they are banning these powerful cards, Magic the Gathering is power creeping, like the power creep is escalating really high. So if they keep this trend that a card is too powerful and they're banning, then we will have EDH bans each quarter or something when new sets come out. And I don't think the idea behind the bans should be let's ban this card because it's too powerful. Like, let's try to teach maybe the players to actually take upon the rule 0 or whatever. And this can also be used, and it seems that it's being used by some people today that, like, okay, you're cEDH players, you rule 0 your own Mox Jewel Lotus and Mana Creep, so you keep playing them. The thing is, it has to be unanimous worldwide. So I don't go to America next month and sit at the table and I'm playing with a deck that it's by the rules and you have a different rule. So that's why, I'm leading into the uniformity of rules and not splitting the format. So maybe we'll let this for later.
Yeah, for me, first of all, I was incredibly surprised anything got banned. Like, all of them were surprised because none of them were on the watch list, except Dockside. I think Dockside was always just like, hey, this is going to be on the watch list permanently. But dang, a lot of stuff got banned. And we don't typically see bans, ever, right? Last time we saw one was Lutri and Hull Breacher, and it was incredibly surprising. Now, I think the thing that maybe concerns me about the bans is that they didn't say anything about the future. Like, they basically said, hey guys, we banned 4 cards, here's a small paragraph explaining why we banned these 4 cards, and what I really needed was what can we expect next quarter? Like, is this a ban? Here's a ban, and we're going to evaluate this ban. We're going to listen to feedback, we're going to see how players enjoy things differently, and then we'll address it in the next quarter. Or this is just the beginning. We banned these 4 cards and we're going to update we're going to get a little bit more aggressive in, pulling back the casual level of the format. I wish they had said something. Oh, Golo's banned as well. Yeah, I wish that we had gotten a hint about what the future is going to hold. Because not only is it rare that they ban things that aren't on the watch list, it's rare that they ban 4 things at once. When was the last time Commander ever had a ban announcement that involved 4 cards? It might have been when Kukushko was unbanned.
Yeah, and not 4, I would
Maybe
say 2. Just 2 cards.
Was it just 2 back then as well? Yeah, I actually don't think we've ever had a ban this size. At least not in years. At least not in the past decade. So, just surprising. So yeah, that's it. That's my only concern. I wish that we knew what was going to happen, in the future regarding the ban list. Okay, so that was Sisei talking about stax, how stax can, have a win here. Nadu got banned. That's pretty bad for Nadu decks. The Nadu ban, I guess we'll just address that right now. I'm kind of sad about that. I am a commander purist. I want commander decks to use their commanders, to need their commanders, and to get to play unique janky stuff because of their commanders. And that was Nadu. I get it. I get that Nadu wasn't tested. It was really strong. But I still think Kinnan held its top spot, right? Over time, people were predicting Nadu would catch up, but Kinnan just always had that better card quality. I don't know. I was sad to see it get banned because I liked Blue Farm players losing to the Bird Wizard, okay? You can call me a dirty Nadu pilot, but every time I heard about Nadu winning another tournament and beating a pod full of Roger Silas and Blue Farm, I was like, oh, heck yes. Clapping, Anyway, so I'm sad that it got banned. I understand why it got banned, but just for me and my own ideas, I don't know. You never got to actually play it, right?
No, I wanted. I had a foil one waiting there, but no, I didn't got much time to pull the list together. But I think even I've seen it. I have a friend of mine here from Basel that he was playing and pulling good results with it, and even with even in cEDH, it's non-deterministic. It's a bit like Krark. It's non-deterministic, yes. But then there's the statistics that eventually it's kind of deterministic. When you have 2-3 Krarks, it's kind of, but at the same time, it can also all of the rolls fail. So in Nadu, I felt it was a little bit like that. Hard to stop the chain, but still possible to stop. So if this was happening in cEDH, as I was witnessing, I definitely I can't imagine how casuals were using Nadu, and I think Nadu was a paradox engine ban from casual side. You know, I think they were just playing Nadu and doing dirty things and not doing much and passing. So I don't think it was cEDH oriented like some of the other ones, but yeah, definitely a dirty card for casual.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely probably doing really bad things in casual because it was going off with a ham sandwich, taking up a lot of time. It reminded me a lot of the complaints of maybe like a year and a half ago where people wanted to actually ban Krark from tournament play because of it taking up too much time. You know, and just being this non-deterministic, you know, sit and watch the game do its thing. So Nadu, it was great. You know, while I had a chance, you'll go down in history as this, you know, awesome deck, you know, that we had in the format for a little bit. But, you know, I think Nadu's really like the only super, super dead list. Somebody asked an interesting question. If they would have unbanned a card in order to kind of make this feel a little bit better. So if they banned 4 cards and then like unbanned 1 card to kind of, you know, make things feel a little bit smoother, which one do you think they should have unbanned? Putting you on the spot, but
I'm trying to think of the ban list. For once, Coalition Victory, I think it's still a bit of a nonsense that it is in there. I guess I'll open here. I might not be able to open this site because
I don't think that'd like give them some off. Okay, well, never mind. I'm literally just talking about Paradox Engine. Never mind. What about Profit Accrue Fix? Do you think Profit Accrue Fix would have satisfied both sides of the?
Nah, don't. While I loved playing it back in the day, nah, it's. I think Rofellos could be unbanned easily, and it's been my argument for a long time that Rofellos is weaker than Keenan, but.
Sure. Yeah, please don't unban Paradox Engine until I can go buy a couple of the Kaladesh inventions. Please.
Oh, and I think Biorhythm could be interesting to see play again. I've heard that a long time ago I heard that there was like these decks that would rush mana into a Biorhythm and try to kill their opponents with it. Still like 8 mana sorcery spell that even if you pull this out, if I was a casual player and I see like this person going like, I have a lot of mana, I'm gonna wrath the board, giving this destructible to my creatures and cast Biorhythm, I'm like, whoa, that was amazing. I lost, but good, let's go for another one. I love the win gun, you know? So yeah, I don't understand Biorhythm in there.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that could be unbanned that probably wouldn't affect casual play at all, but I would like something that makes cEDH players happy, because we're the ones who got shot today, so.
Yeah, Primeval Titan could be nice.
Moving on, Kinnan.
Kinnan.
I think Kinnan is king, right? Like, Kinnan just doesn't care about any of the bans, is happy to see its rival in Simic gone, and is just chilling. Like, it can now play into rocks without having to worry about feeding Dockside.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Kinnan moves up a couple spaces, which again, it's a commander-centric deck that needs to play its commander. I'm not going to complain. But you know, just me. Tivit.
I think Tivit also wins a lot.
You think so? They lose 5 mana worth of rituals to cast Tivit.
Yeah, but I think I've seen often like they cast Tivit and they pass, and of course Tivit comes down. People give them the person gives themselves 2 treasures, and the opponents give them clues, so they don't get too much mana, and those clues will be uncrackable for a turn cycle easily. This person could crack the 2 treasures and the clue to avoid a dockside just in that turn cycle. I think Tivit easily feeds docksides, and that's why I think it could gain a little bit of an advantage there. I'll be honest, I forgot for a moment Jewel Lotus. Yeah, I guess some different, maybe the Tivit players lists would pivot a little bit more into Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual kind of stuff to bring it out sooner. But the thing that it doesn't feed docksides could be an edge there in tournament play.
Yep. Going back to the chat, we have somebody ask, which of the 4 banned commander cards do you think should be sold, if any?
4 bans should be.
I'm just gonna say Nadu.
Nadu,
like
easily, but it's like $2, right?
Yeah, like sell your Nadus. Sorry, I wouldn't sell anything else. The reason I wouldn't sell anything else is because there is a world where feedback happens and like a couple, like stuff can get unbanned in Commander. It does happen.
Yeah.
And depending on what is released in the future, I could see Jeweled Lotus getting unbanned just because like it's such a Commander-centric card, right?
It plays nowhere else.
But there's also, yeah, it's played nowhere else. There's also a chance that Wizards of the Coast begins to R&D around these cards. Like if Wizards of the Coast says, okay, they banned Jeweled Lotus, we still need to make a new chase card to sell and make money. So we're just gonna make a Jeweled Lotus that cracks for 2 mana, right? Like, they could actually do that. They could make that, and then they would force the rules committee to then readdress, like, okay, is 3 mana too much? Is 2 mana enough? Like, we won't ban it 2 mana? They really could, if they wanted to. They could begin to try and get around this. They could even make a Jeweled Lotus that costs 1 mana to cast instead of 0. Like, so I wouldn't sell anything just because the ban list that we have is based off of a fun factor and is centered around casuals. So anything could happen, like anything.
Yeah.
So anyway,
there's also the whispers around that regarding the recent RC cEDH attempts at having actually a split ban list. So we don't know if something were to happen that some entity, some group of people or whatever comes forward with an alternative ban list, and they say, okay, Mana Crypt is unbanned in our rules, and you can play our tournaments with it. So if you all sold yours, and then maybe like they are definitely down, rock bottom, and then if this happens to show up, like they will go up again. So unless you really want the money, otherwise if you want to keep playing cEDH, you can also rule 0 in your group of friends to keep playing with these cards. So I'll be keeping mine for sure.
Elder says to keep them for cube, which makes sense. Like, yeah, cube, you can play whatever you want. Put Nadu in a cube. That'd be fun.
No.
Give everybody a Nadu. Someone in chat wants to ask you, have you thought about changes to Dawnwaker?
Dawnwaker, yeah. I'll be trying Carpet of Flowers again, going back to the Revi, and doing hopefully doing infinite mana through the Revi Emil. Worst case scenario, yeah, I thought it's been a while. I honestly haven't put much thought to it why this happened, but back a long time ago, Thrasius lists would run Isochron Scepter dramatic reversal loops, right? So I don't remember why that faded away. I guess power creep or something else. So
I actually think it was because of Dockside, right?
Probably.
Like Isochron Scepter loops required big rock counts in order to go off. And then there was always the risk of like you losing dramatic reversal somewhere, like if it gets exiled, it was like a fragile thing that once it was reviewed, like once it got interacted with, you couldn't rebuild. So we could see a resurgence of ISO Rev. I guess that leads us into the next topic, is what we actually think is going to happen to the meta.
Mm-hmm.
Really quickly, I want to share a philosophy that I have that I was talking with some other pilots about. If you sat down at a table and you were going fourth, okay? So you're going fourth, you're at a huge disadvantage, and you had an option. Basically, a judge came by and said, hey, if you take Mana Crypt out of your deck, I will make the other 3 players take Mana Crypt out of their deck. If you were given that option going forth, would you take it?
I guess it would depend on the deck, but I guess I would prefer to still have my Mana Crypts.
Okay. So it's a question that we wanted some other people to consider is what happens in a 1v1 format when you ban a card. It's usually to like get rid of a strategy, and then when a card is banned, you guys still have your 50% chance of winning. But in 4-person free-for-all, there are 3 other opponents who also have access to that same broken card, and you can present and see there's mixed results coming in from the chat, which is good. We want people to be thinking about this, and you have an option to you have to think about what happens when a broken card is taken away from 3 opponents versus taken away from just you. And technically the overall impact of the removal of that card is bigger for your opponents than it is for just your own individual deck. The chances of them having it or an opponent having it now goes down. Right? Like whenever you make a game action, if you're playing against 3 blue decks, the chances are that 1 out of the 3 has interaction. But if you removed that piece of interaction, that potential goes down for the 3 people. So anyway, it's something to think about when it comes to what's about to happen to the power level of decks, and especially people who are worried about the fringe being completely knocked out of the meta. I do think if you build a deck that was completely reliant on Dockside, like if you found a really cool fringe commander that was, hey, the only reason this deck works is because I can run Cloudstone, Curio, Dockside Extortionist, and go off, right? Those decks sadly are completely dead. But if it was anything else, that has a reason to play Underworld Breach combos, to play Dualcaster Mage, to find some other win con. If you think about how in a 4-person free-for-all where you only have a 25% chance of winning and your opponents have, hopefully, let's not talk about turn order, a 75% chance of winning, their chances have gone down because the ban affects more people. And does that make sense? Is the philosophy making sense? It's a bit hard to describe.
Yeah.
How when you do ban something in 4-person free-for-all, your opponents lose more than you do in total.
Yeah, so, I understand the idea. Like the 75%, let's say the Mana Crypt would give an edge of 5% of a win rate for each of the players. You as a player with 25 would go down on 20, but your opposing opponents on 75 would go down on 15% to 60. That's kind of what you mean, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. And I guess another picture that maybe might help it out a little bit better, if you have 4 players, they're all playing blue, and each of them in their opening hand has land Mana Crypt Study, who benefits the most?
First player.
Yeah, the first player, because he gets to draw 3 cards from everybody else casting the heuristic, and player 4 doesn't. And so, if you gave player 4 the option of like, let's make that so that that can't happen anymore, player 4 would probably want that. So there is a chance that
I lost you.
we will actually see a change in the results. Am I back? Let me know when I'm back.
Yep.
Okay. There is a chance that we'll actually see a shift in those win percentages. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with what I do and what me and Ball both do, we do keep track of a lot of games and statistics, and we're just letting you know that there is a chance that there will be a shift in the win percentages of the different seats because certain tempo strategies and certain tempo plans are gone. So that's just something to be aware of. Let's take a look at chat really quick. Somebody asked for something.
We had some questions for specific.
Welcome all of our new chatters. Yukai, welcome to the chat. Huang Yuni.
There was someone asking about Rocco, if it was dead. I think Rocco was a strong contender at some point, but yeah, I mean, I knew some players back in Portugal that were playing it a lot, and I liked the lists that actually played a huge amount of silence effects, and I think those were the ones that would actually be pulling good results because of the amount of silence effects they had. But yeah, I guess without Dockside, I guess you just have better Naya commanders, if at all, and I guess Naya could just pivot into more of a staxy area. Remember Cicada was on what was his Naya build? Was Arden and Tenna. He had a really interesting Arden Tenna list, so I would recommend to check it out. I guess something in those lines where you are staxing the table, you have heaters. I don't remember the core of the list, but I remember it being really decent.
Yeah, I sadly don't know if there's much hope for Rocco. There is definitely a graveyard of lists, that has popped up thanks to this. I think someone in chat was mentioning Borborygmos and Fibblethip is dead, and that was a great list. I love seeing that win events. You know who you are. But yeah, if Rocco's main strategy was to assemble the Dockside combo and then bounce Rocco, send it to the command zone, recast it, play out your library. Yeah, that's not going to be going so well. Rocco does have food chain for a pivot, which is fine. There's actually a lot of these lists that lost Dockside but kept food chain. If you don't want to play...
I lost you.
If food, Minsk and Boo actually don't care about these changes. The Protean Hulk.
Oh yeah, Minsk and Boo. Rodrigo, when he was part of the channel, he had a... We have a deck.
So that might be a fun thing to bit to if you like. Yeah.
I lost you for a second, so I took over a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Minsk and Boo is interesting. I think Hulk Piles could see a resurgence maybe with the slower meta maybe.
I actually don't. I don't know
so?
about. No, sorry, not that. I was reading chat. Continue. Okay. You're good.
Yeah, there's someone mentioning the impact of the bans. I think this money impact of the bans, and David from the channel was also telling me today, messaging me today that I think this should be, this can so he was mentioning about the market, what was his words? Market trust. So the same way they built the reserved list when they reprinted cards because collectors were enraged by their cards being down. Today, as David said, several thousands of players, of Magic players today, lost millions of dollars or euros or their currency. This was
Easily,
David's
yeah.
words. And like each player that had a Mana Crypt, Jewel Lotus, and Dockside, depending on the printing, but then we know there are a ton of printings, and there are the people who love like the top edge versions of the cards, which some were thousands. Yeah, I think you have the masterpieces from Kaladesh, or the foily weird numbered ones, etc. Everyone that had these cards, they went down, and there's like that it was a crash, like the what's the bolsa jewelers. It was a crash on Wall Street of Commander Magic. So it could be that players come up, like show their disappointment at Wizards, and they say, okay, from now on maybe we are retracting these bans, and maybe from now on we are going to tell you in advance, or we're going to do a reserved list of the Commander bans, or if there's a world that Wizards gets a backlash on these bans, and or maybe says, hey, RC, we never got into your business, but now like you have to pass through me before you take your decisions, because we did this card for Commanders to sell product, and now you banned Jeweled Lotus, and what do we do with this? We had plans to print this next year, now what? So there's a world that the money will speak higher, and these cards get unbanned, or something else actually happens.
Yeah, if you
Hey, I lost you.
it's actually pretty easy to think, if you take, like, let's just assume anybody who is subscribed to a cEDH channel, plays, let's just say each of them own a Mana Crypt, a Jeweled Lotus, and the bannings, like, right? So with just 100,000,
You're stuttering a little bit. I'm losing you.
already. Am I back? Nope.
You're a
Hello?
Yep. You're back, but then you're gone. Then you're back. Then you're gone.
We're back after this quick break, brought to you by Xfinity.
Then you're cut.
We are still this quick break, brought to you by Xfinity.
I'm trying to follow the chat as this happens. There's someone asking
Hello?
I'm listening sometimes, and then losing you. I wouldn't suggest a reserve list 2.0, and even if I own a lot of
Okay, I'm back
reserve
now.
list cards,
Can you hear
I would
Nope,
actually
I'm not
prefer
back.
that the reserve list goes down. I hear you, Josh. I hear you not.
Be terrified to invest in any type of card knowing that it could end up on the finance. Actually, let me know when I'm back. Am I back? Hello?
You're gumming and going. That's why I don't always interrupt, because then you're here and then you're not. I lost you again.
Hello?
How do you get the X like these tracks here?
Hello?
Hello.
This stream is brought to you by Comcast Digital Cable.
By the way, I actually think that if Mana Crypt
The best company
was a
in Northern Utah
$5
for
card,
all of your
it
internets.
could maybe not be banned today. There was a comment from one of our patrons today mentioning that it's highly possible that several people just show their disgust about these cards, like seeing an opponent cast a Mana Crypt, because they don't have the money to afford one, they are not playing one, and then they dislike it when someone else is like actually playing a good card, expensive card that cannot afford. So I think that's a valid comment, and I think if the cards were actually all three of these cards, if they were heavily printed, all costing not much than $10-15, I don't think they would be banned. because then they would be more played, and then casual commander would just be everyone plays their dockside, not just the guy who spent $50 on their card. I think you are better now.
Yeah, I think I am. And I agree with you. I've been listening to what you've been saying. So yeah. Yeah, I do think that it would at least be more common. I actually had this evil theory. Do not take what I'm about to say as law in any way, shape, or form. But I had this ingenious plan that the rules committee banned these cards in order to lower their price. So we're all expected to buy them right now because they're going to be unbanned tomorrow. And they're going to say, we gave you a window, you should have taken advantage of it and, gotten all the cards you need. So who knows what will wake up. That is not, don't anybody take that to heart and go start buying this stuff out. But I think it'd be funny if that was the case. Okay. Really quickly looking back through the comments, mostly everybody talking about the financial impact of this. I did hear, I was on a finance subreddit for Magic, and they did say this is probably the most money that's ever been lost ever in the history of Magic, like making a ban decision on something. So somebody mentioned like you should probably just sell all your cards because nothing is safe. And I mean, like, it's true. Like, if Mana Crypt gets banned, Mox Diamond is not safe.
Especially
Chrome Mox is not safe.
Yeah.
Lotus Petal is not safe. Like, these Moxen are not safe at all. And who knows? Somebody could wake up tomorrow and decide that Dark Ritual is not safe. So, yeah, I don't know. If you were thinking about buying these...
I lost you.
Anyway, I just be careful. Okay, so to recap so far.
And I lost you again. To recap.
The meta technically slowing down. Control players. Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, were you saying something or did I drop out?
You dropped out for some seconds and I was taking over, but you're back, I think.
All right. So yeah, we talked about Blood Moon. We talked about Stax decks potentially making a comeback, but still having to get through the round timer. Control players, technically having more options. Is there anything else that we think is going to shift?
I think Timna Thrasius might see a resurgent of play. Like, basically, before there was no great excuses to not play red, and even maybe even the Atraxa food chain might see a little bit more play once again. So I think several heavy mana value commanders like Tevesh. I think lists with Tevesh, for example, might be quite crippled. Tevesh Chrome, Tevesh Rograk. Although Tevesh Rograk maybe still casts with sacrificial spells Tevesh easily, but there will be definitely a slowing down of the meta and people just going back to the roots. There was cEDH before Dockside was printed, so
yeah, like I've been playing cEDH for over 10 years now. Like this.
Yeah.
This is not new to me. Okay, I did want to talk about this. I am very empathetic to people who are worried about the future of cEDH. And I want to let you know that you shouldn't be. cEDH is still an amazing format. It is a great game. The new meta is going to be very fun to build in. And it's something you should look forward to. I'm looking at my internet, like, hoping it's still here.
Yeah.
And, I was there for the Paradox Engine ban. I was there for the Flash meta. Like, It's about adapting. I think this is probably the first time a lot of cEDH players will have to adapt to a instantly changing meta. It's a good experience. You're gonna love it. Somebody mentioned if Mox Diamond did end up banned, you spent $850 on a Mox Diamond, would you stop playing? You're gonna change gears and keep on brewing. And the answer is I will change gears and keep on brewing. I love having to adapt stuff to a meta. For example, am I still here?
Yep.
Check. Okay.
You did check and I lost you.
A really unique piece of work. It was on dockside combos. We were on World Gorger Dragon mostly, and then
I lost you again on World Gorger.
Okay. I was playing World Gorger Dragon, dockside combos. I had to play Cloudstone Curio, Chthonian Nightmares, everything.
Oh, Chthonian is... Chthonian was printed and I got my fairly pretty ones and haven't tried them in Kenrith. Like I put the list is there, but I didn't play it. Yeah.
So I'm just happy to be able to adapt. It's an adaptation. I don't consider these bans good or bad. I just think they can be analyzed and adapted to.
Should we address the possibility of splitting ban list? I think we should.
Before we get into that, really quickly about Sol Ring. I know they said Sol Ring was like the face of the format. It's more like if you ban Sol Ring, you just made every single precon illegal, and I don't think they're ever going to do that. So even if it wasn't the face of the format, I think they won't do anything that
they actually could. They could do it.
They could.
This. But Sol Ring is banned.
But I don't think they will.
But if you play the precon as it is from the box, you can. That's how they did it with Chandra. No, there was a standard card that was banned, and it was coming on introduction decks. So the card was banned if you played it on a standard deck, but if you played the introductory deck from the box, you could play it. So they could actually ban it and say, as long as it's in your precon unaltered list, you can use it.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Okay, so your thoughts on splitting ban lists?
Well, I actually, to be honest, with today's bans, I am more inclined towards it. When at the same time, so I am more inclined at cEDH players as a whole, like bold whole, get together and through statistics, neutrality, and voices being heard, do their own ban list openly, also without anyone cashing out on the cards that they are banning or unbanning. Maybe I would be more inclined to such a thing, because all three of these cards, even fourth, let's say, I enjoyed playing them, and they generated interesting starts, interesting comebacks sometimes. A player who's like fourth in turn order, you dumped all your stuff, and I'm fourth, okay, I can also dockside into my stuff. So I'm more inclined to maybe a split where there's a new ban list, but it has to be like global. It cannot be 3 or 5 group of people that are really like together, and that they think they know more than everyone else, and that they come forward with this and want to apply this in this way, having already bought the cards that they are unbanning, etc., etc. So these might come out a little bit wrong. It seems that I'm like bashing on the people who are trying to do this. I am not. I just think they didn't do it the best way, and I actually didn't agree with the bans as well, within some of the unbans, but with such bans today, I would be more inclined to maybe okay, let's maybe think about it. So yeah, what you think?
I think I want to wait for a little bit and see what this new meta is like. There is a big chance that we love this meta.
True.
There's a big chance that like U-Farm gets kicked in the nuts. And I think I want to see what happens. I am still very anti separate ban lists and anything that makes the transition of EDH to cEDH more difficult for people. Because you're like what you said, you think about cEDH players as a whole. I think a lot about the new cEDH player experience. For some statistics that at least that I've been able to pick up, our format grows by like 15-20% each year, and that's all new people that are coming in, from other formats or EDH to cEDH. And I just really care about that subset of people who keeps joining. They just joined last year. They just joined 2 years ago. And I just want that experience of EDH to cEDH to be seamless. And that's why I'm kind of locked in to my ideologies of like not changing the ban list for cEDH and not changing any of the rules for cEDH, no scrying, none of that stuff. So that's me. That's my stance. I just want to keep playing EDH. And again, this can change if these bans had such a negative impact on the meta that cEDH became unfun for everybody. Then obviously, it's up for debate, but I think it's something I want to wait and see. Like if Blue Farm gets knocked down a peg from this, can we even say it was bad? I don't know.
I think it will not be knocked down that much, but I think it will. I was also, just to put it out there, if some people here don't know, I was also against the splitting of the ban list, with following a little bit of your ideas and arguments. Like, then you are a casual player, and then you get into cEDH, you have a different ban list, you have to adapt, etc. So it was seamlessly, but at some point, like, you can also play Magic as Richard Garfield intended, so anything that you want. Imagine you are a 50-year-old person who started playing in alpha or beta or whatever and has all the cards, and he's playing kitchen table, and then he wants to play competitive. He cannot bring his deck with 3 Black Lotus and 2 Time Twisters, etc. To a vintage tournament. He's playing at a high level with these rules of vintage limited ban list. So while he has all the cards that he can use to play competitive here, the kitchen table he was used to, it's not the same. He has to abide to rules. So if you want to play the commander casual that you want with all the rules, sure, but then if you want to play it competitive, why do not attend to different rules, different ban list? Like, do you understand the idea?
I
have pros and cons about this. I'm not. It would have to be really well thought about it, not just like, let's ban Ristic Study and my Team Necron deck is boosted to hell because most of my commanders draw cards, and if you have a commander that doesn't draw cards, you are way behind on the run. So I don't know. I think maybe the meta, and there was some comment about the draws. I guess you're. I think it might there be a lot of draws. They might increase, and as long as people keep playing the 75-minute rounds, especially with the slower explosive turns from that dockside would provide.
Yeah, we'll see. it'll be more like basically everything is starting from scratch, right? Like all the data that we had on turn order, advantage, and draws is now gone because all the decks have changed. Meta's changed. Nadu's gone. You know, there's so much to now consider. You know, kudos.
Yeah, lost you. Kudos to something, but I lost you there. Narset, Xfinity.
Drop-offs prior to the announcement?
Yeah, I lost you at kudos something. And I think I lost you again.
I'll just say kudos to Wizards for not leaking this.
Oh, did they not? If we check, I don't know, if you check the marketplaces everywhere and see if these cards were being sold cheaper yesterday. I saw what was it? The Storm Blue spell that was unbanned on Legacy. I have a printing here, whatever. The Mind's Desire, when it was unbanned, the day before, Magic Card Market was like, pfft. Here in Europe, there was a spike in foil sales, and it's there. Actually, if you go to Magic Card Market and check the Scourge version, I think, in foil, you see a spike on the date before of the banning. So, yeah, but it hit everyone. I'm surprised. Does this mean your decks will be less blingy? Nah, blinging all the way. I always strive to having hold the deck foil as much as I can, but now with 3 less blingy cards that I put like in a top loader to maybe put somewhere in there, like Hall of Famer ban list. Lotus was increasing in price before today. Interesting.
Yeah, me personally, I will continue to spend a ton of money on cards. That's not changing for me. Because I'm unhealthy. That's just life.
We are all.
They're not going to ban my old border, grief, right? And subtlety. So.
Old border grief, no. Yeah, I got one as well, but I'm sad that I haven't found like a list that would like it. I think I don't think it's that good in cEDH, unfortunately.
You played it to great effect in Rakdos the Muscle.
I think so. Now that you mention, who did I grift? I grift a blue player. I don't remember. I have to.
It wasn't me. I think you griefed. Who were we playing against?
I evoked the card for some reason. I don't remember.
Statistically speaking, it was probably a Tivit player or somebody playing blue, but
yeah, probably. Will you keep playing Bruce Strazis, or will you change your go-to deck now? Well, to be honest, I was thinking on taking Kenrith to Lisbon. In 2 months. I was considering pivoting back to Kenrith, and now with Dockside ban, I don't see myself playing Kenrith anytime soon. I will try Bruce Strazis with the Revi kind of stuff, and I will try Team Strazis. You see me spam some of these decks in tournaments, but I can't say I am an ex-player in cEDH, like a combo or a control or stacks. I honestly like all of the different strategies, and I'll play all of the different decks. But when it comes to tournaments, yeah, I think Bruce Strazis was the deck I was having more fun after Kenrith and putting better results. So let's.
You want me to send you a really good Thrasios Tymna list?
Sure. I'm open. The last time I tried it, I felt so bored to death because I didn't have Dockside. Exactly because I didn't have Dockside. I was like, these turns are boring. I play Dork, pass, Dork, maybe attack, get one more card, and then it was actually, there was blockers everywhere, so I was feeling like Timna wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and I didn't have Dockside, so I was really bored to death with the last time I played Timna. I think it was after Tier 1 Con when I saw most of the Into the North players, I think, playing the Timna Thrasius list with a single white card that helps you mill the deck, you know? I don't remember.
A single white... Oh, Sacred Spirit Guide, right?
Yeah.
Sacred Hulk is what it was called.
Yeah, exactly.
Sacred. I don't remember the...
Guide? Sacred Guide? Is it Sacred Guide?
Yeah. Sacred Guide seems right.
Yeah, I tried that list after being in Tier 1 Con. I was like, nah, this list is boring compared to any red list. Okay, so any last thoughts?
No, that's about it from me. Like I said, there's a lot of cards that have died. There's a lot of decks that are now in the graveyard, stuff that were too reliant on Dockside. I lost some cool lines, but at the same time, you know, I get to adjust. Are you going to change all your decks right away, or are you going to wait a little bit?
Me? If I had the time, I would put some thought into it, but actually, yeah, I don't like work stuff, etc. I will wait a little bit. Whatever happens, I think I will have the cards to replace it unless there's like some weird strange thing coming, but I think if it's green, I will go back to Carpet of Flowers, and yeah, I guess maybe Isorev tests back, I don't know. Considering...
I'd sooner go on like power.
Considering that I would want infinite mana, that's what I meant. I think Atraxa is... I think, Elder, you should really go heavy on Atraxa now. So, yeah.
Alrighty.
Everyone
that's
that stuck with us for this time, check out our Discord. Come join our Discord. We were talking a lot today there, and we will keep talking about these and future changes there, so join us there.
Yep, we are very close to 15,000 subscribers. If you are not a subscriber, we'd love for you to join us. Our link tree is also in the description below.
Yep. So good. Here it's midnight. In your place it's what, 4 o'clock or something? No.
Yep, 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Okay. So, and maybe in Australia it's 12 in the morning? I don't know. Whatever. Goodbye, good evening, good day, good anything.
See you all next time. We've got some videos in the works for you guys.
Bye-bye.